Good evening. Please turn off your phones. Welcome to the March 17th, 2021 regular meeting of Eureka Springs Historic District Commission. I, Dee Bright, Chairman. Commissioners present tonight are Steve Holyfield, Maggie Haid, Greg Moon, Randy Maddox, Marty Cogan, and Tommy
Zorneman.
Zorneman. We're going to work on that. And Tommy is new to us, so we'd like to welcome you.
Thank you very much.
This is her first meeting since we're actually being here in person. The Eureka Springs Historic District Commission is empowered by the Eureka Springs Municipal Code to issue a certificate of appropriateness for alterations of exterior architectural features, demolition and new construction within the boundaries of the Eureka Springs Historic District. The HDC uses Eureka Springs Historic District guidelines and the U.S. Department of Interior standards for the rehabilitation of historic buildings as the basis for decisions. The Commission can take the following action on an application: approval, approval with modifications, denial or deferral for more information. Appeal of denial may be made to the Circuit Court. Public comments will be heard on each agenda item as it is called. Other public comments are best addressed to the City Council. Okay. Are there any changes or additions to tonight's agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda as listed here in front of us.
Second.
Steve Holyfield made the motion. Greg Moon seconded. Any discussion? All approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. We have no old business. New business, Level 2, Cave Spring Reservation, Douglas Street, replace failing retaining wall, Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission. Level 2, 19 Judith, new greenhouse, Litherland. Level 2, 2 Cross, replace deck, Seymour. Level 2, 36 Eureka Street, remove rear deck and collapse wall, Cox. Level 2, 91 South Main Street, add commercial fence, Evans.
And I move that we discuss the levels 1, 2, and/or 3, addressing the work at the address and the work to be approved on the request line of the summary of facts as presented.
Second.
Maggie Haid made the motion, and I'm sorry, I didn't, who made the second? Steve Holyfield seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, 29 Douglas Street. Do we have someone here for 29 Douglas? If so, come up to the mic and state your name.
I'm sorry, 29 Douglas, is that the one at Cave Spring?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Scott Niskell. I am the interim director for Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission.
The construction date is unknown. Contributing is also unknown. The request is replace failing retaining wall.
Yes.
I'll read the summary of facts as presented on the application. A, Parks Commission has been receiving complaints about this wall, which collapsed years ago. B, the length of the wall is approximately 45 feet. See items number 1 and 2. C, the original wall stone is only 3 inches to 4 inches wide, laid vertically and unstable. See exhibit number 3. D, the replacement would be dry stacked stone that would be wider, backfilled, and anchored. See exhibit number 4. And E, the walls at the nearby spring are dry stacked, so it would match. Does that sound correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do we have any discussion?
Are you going to reuse the rocks that are the original rocks?
We certainly hope to, even in this particular spot. One of the things that we looked at doing is because it's about a 4-foot height, using those to make a little bit of a stair step to get up to that area. We hope to eventually, once we do the stonework, put some landscape fabric up in this area, some gravel, and put a picnic table or something. This is a project that is a little obscure for us because of the area that it is, but it was important to me personally because these gardens and springs up in this particular area get neglected a lot because they're not down in the commercial area, and we've had a lot of complaints about it, and I wanted to just make the statement that, look, these are our parks too. And so it's important to me personally to reach out to the community there and to let them know that even though our budget is so tight that we can't do everything up there that we'd like to, that we are doing what we can. So yes, I do expect to use those as sort of a little stair step. And then any of the stone that we do salvage, of course, we have needs all over the place in parks, so they will definitely be used. Unfortunately, it's more like flagstone than stackable stone.
Thank you. I'd like to mention that the walls in this town are historic. They're very important to the character of the town.
Yes.
I read someplace 85 miles of rock walls in Eureka Springs. It's impressive, and we want to maintain that feature of history here, character.
And addressing that, that's my concern with this particular wall. It wasn't built the way a retaining wall should. It's really just flagstone, 2 to 3 inches vertical, which is fine to put on the, for instance, on an exterior of a house because you secure it properly. But for something like this, if we rebuilt it the way it is, it would end up, or excuse me, the way it was, it will end up the way it is again.
Do I have a motion?
I move that the proposed work at Cave Spring Reservation at 29 Douglas Street is compatible with U.S. Secretary of Interior standards for the rehabilitation of historic buildings, as well as the Eureka Springs Historic District Guidelines number 37 retaining walls, and move that the level 2 work to replace failed retaining wall be approved according to the agreed upon summary facts as presented.
Second.
Steve Holyfield made the motion. Randy Maddox seconded. Any other discussion?
I have a question. In the event that you have to use mortar, it would be set well back on the stone, and I think perhaps you should use mortar because if it's only dry stacked with sand and gravel in the back, a heavy rain could very well dislodge it. Have you considered that?
We didn't think that would be necessary in this particular one. Various employees for parks have done a lot of this kind of work in the past and didn't feel it necessary, but we could certainly, the cost of a little bit of mortar and the fact that it would help to guarantee that that sort of thing wouldn't happen, it would certainly be something that we would do if that's a requirement that you would like us to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anything else? All in favor, say yes.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is 6-0, passes.
Thank you very much.
19, thank you, Scott. 19, Judith. Oh, Maggie has to bring your C of A down. 19 Judith Street. Do we have anybody here? I don't see them. Property owner is Mark and Shiraz Litherland. This is a level 2. The applicant is the same. Construction date is 1910 for the house. It is contributing. They're requesting a new greenhouse. And Maggie will read the summary of facts.
The summary of facts as presented on the application. A, greenhouse will be located on an adjacent lot not visible from the street. See Exhibits 1 and 2. B, the size will be 8 feet by 12 feet. See Exhibit number 3. C, panels will be polycarbonate. Frame will be green powder coated aluminum. And D, it will have a foundation to anchor it.
Do you guys want to go on with this one, or do you think it's a greenhouse? What?
It looks pretty self-explanatory.
I think it's pretty as long as you guys don't have a problem. Okay, everybody's looked at this in their packets. We have a motion, and then we'll see if anybody has questions.
I move the proposed work at 19 Judith Street is compatible with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for the rehabilitation of historic buildings, as well as the Eureka Springs Historic District Guidelines Number 2, ancillary structures, and move that the Level 2 work for a new greenhouse is approved according to agreed-upon summary of facts as presented.
Second.
Steve Holyfield made the motion. Maggie Haid seconded. Discussion or any questions?
I want to just raise a question. It's not about this specifically so much as is worded, verbiage that I've seen in several of our summaries where that says something has to be at least 2/3 of the way back from the front facade of the primary structure. 2/3 of the way from there to where? It doesn't say, I mean, that's rhetorical because it doesn't say. And what it is that we are considering
Let's have Glenn
can
answer.
matter. I just raised that as something that we might want to consider whether it needs to be rewritten or what, but it's not always clear what that might mean. Here, there's no question because it's beyond the back of the lot.
It's a separate lot, so.
Glenna, do you want to answer his question, or do you want to wait and do
I
it?
think we'll just put it on the list.
Put it on our list
of
down here
guidelines.
on comments later?
Yeah, that's
down
a good
here,
idea. That's a
workshop?
good idea.
Okay.
Never hurts to look at them again.
And this is, I'm going to hold up my packet here. This is just a freestanding greenhouse, simple little greenhouse that could be removed at any time. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 2 Cross Street, do we have anybody here? Could you come up to the mic and state your name and
Yes,
address,
Virginia
please?
Seymour,
And your address, Virginia?
2 Cross Street, which it doesn't mention street there, but it does have street.
This is a level 2. The applicant is the same as the owner. Construction date is 1965. It is not contributing. The request is remove existing deck, replace with larger deck. And Maggie will read you the summary of facts.
The summary of facts as presented on the application. A, existing rear deck is not to code and will be removed. B, the requesting approval for 2 options for new deck. C, both options will have deck on west side that begins 10 foot from front facade and is 10 foot wide. D, option number 1, rear deck will be 10 foot wide and run 48 feet across the rear of the house. E, option 2, the rear deck will be 20 foot wide and run 24 feet across the rear of the house. F, the material will be the same for both options, treated wood deck and rails to code height with wire panel inserts.
Correct.
Any discussion before we make a motion?
How wide is the current deck?
It's 7 feet by 16 approximately.
7?
It's a little guy.
Standard.
The first thing that jumps out at me has to do with the statement that, where did it go? Deck should be located on the rear. And the existing one is totally at the rear of the property, but this one extends beyond it by 10 feet in both options. And so I see that concerns me. I wonder if that's the intent, that it should be completely across the back of it only. And that same statement talks about screening it from view, but mostly I'm concerned about the first part of that.
On the side.
And it's a should. I'm wondering, how did you decide on the two options as far as the width and the depth and that sort of thing? What was your design strategy there?
Well, because of the way that the sun goes, I wanted to make a deck where I could grow things on. So hence the west side at the 10 away from the front and 10 out. So that doesn't interfere with anything. It's just going to be in addition to what would be attached to the back of the house. And I just am going back and forth for the best option as far as going a little deeper or going a little wider.
Right.
So I just, until I can get my finite way that, yeah, I like the 20-foot out at the, what do we say, 28, I guess.
20 by 24, I believe.
Yes, that is probably the best way to go, because then there's, in what I've been told as far as how it anchors to the house with the ledger board and all that stuff, it's least, it's the strongest and not interfering with anything else. So I will most likely go with the 10 by, on one side and the 20 depth on the back side, replacing the existing deck area.
And of course, the back of the house is on the north side.
Pretty much, yes.
Pretty much, right? And
Yeah.
so growing things, you'd have to be some distance from the house on the north side to get sun.
It just follows my roof, and I just don't get sun on the deck actually right now.
As it is right now.
Yes.
Right, exactly. And so when you first said that, I thought, well, yeah, you definitely want exposure to the west unless you're far enough north to where the house is not in the way of the sun, even in the wintertime, preferably.
Correct, yes.
I would hope. Yeah. So I'm sympathetic to that. I don't know what to do with that statement about whether it should be allowed to extend beyond the back of the house or maybe capitalize on going, out the distance that you were saying. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if it were even, say, not to go out 10 feet to the west, but to, sort of shift it over so that you have the depth on the north side, but still that it wouldn't have that 10-foot extension out to the west. I just raised that. I don't know that that's a...
Well, she could screen it from the street view with fencing and/or plants and shrubs where visible, if we allow option 2, or you can say just option 1.
Well, both options have the western...
Yeah, both of them do have that option. The way it works, it's far enough back, and of course it goes downhill a little bit, so I have to move it back anyway in order to have a couple of steps. And the plan was, of course, to put vegetation around it and also use it for a growing deck because of deer. But anyway, we know that. But that was my plan. It's why I wanted to have the west exposure.
Right.
And might I add, this is why we need site visits, so we can see it. As a
Say that
group.
again?
We need site visits again, I think, so we can see what she's talking about.
Did you not get what I faxed?
Well, I understand
Oh,
totally.
okay.
I get it. I mean, I just think if we all went to the site visit like we used to go to, we can see what you're doing and make things a lot easier.
Well, driving by,
We
driving
dropped those,
by, I know.
Greg, because of the Public Information Act. And also, if you go by, when you got your
Oh, I
packet,
know,
you
but-
would have seen that. So we're trying to avoid site visits because it's still not safe.
Well, yeah, I get that for right now, yes, but we need to go back to site visits eventually.
And I will also point out to Randy that these are guidelines. If you think it merits an exception, you just put that in the motion
Yeah.
and
Right.
state why you're making the exception. if you
I
want
I
to
feel
do
more
that.
comfortable because it's still in the, even in the, from around the side, still in the back of the house. You know, so at least, it's not coming at the front of the house.
No.
Now, it goes down the slope when I
Yeah.
drove by. It's,
Yeah.
And my inclination to read things literally and is, I go, that's why I said earlier, the word is should and not shall. And legally, that makes a lot of difference. It's a guideline, like, you know, Glenna is saying. But the spirit to me says that it wants to be as shielded from the front view, you know, as possible. And I just sort of raised that. You said that was your intent, is to do that.
Pretty much, because I'm going to be putting vegetation around it anyway, yes.
And the point is that the reason that you want it there is for the vegetation in the first place.
Yes.
It'll be green, right?
I noticed that you
Well, for
don't.
the deck to be my gardening area also, to put, you know, deck.
Yeah. And I noticed that you don't even have a door access on that side. That's why I asked, why do you even want it there, was because it's not like you have a door.
I do on the back, I have a
On the
sliding.
back.
Yes, yes.
But not to the west, and I thought, well, do you want
No,
to?
it just will come around. It's just
Exactly,
an L shape,
exactly.
yeah. That's why I didn't want to wrap anything, but it is L-shaped, yes.
do I have a motion?
I move that the proposed work at 2 Cross Street is compatible with the U.S. Secretary of Interior Standards of Rehabilitation of Historic Buildings as well as Eureka Springs Non-Historic Neighborhood Guideline. 8 decks, and I move that the level 2 work, remove existing deck and replace with either option 1 or 2. Which one would you choose on? 1?
Do you guys want to narrow it down, or do
Or
you want
both.
to?
I think she's fine
I
with
think
both.
do
you're
both.
I
Okay.
would prefer one.
They're both the same amount
Okay,
of
we'll say
square
both,
feet.
1 and 2, approve according to the agreed-upon summary of facts presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Greg Moon made the motion, Steve Holyfield made the second. All in approved, say yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
We have 5 yeses, 1 no.
How's your new roof doing? Virginia, how's your new roof?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, you'll see me one more time. I want to build my little, I need to find out from you, and I probably will bring some for a carport. That'll be my last thing. Yeah. Oops.
Doesn't make sense to approve 2 different constructions.
Oh, no.
Our next one is 36 Eureka Street. Do we have someone here for, hi Craig. State your name and address, please.
Hi, Craig Cox, 36 Eureka Street.
And the applicant's the same as the property owner. Construction date is 1889. It is contributing. The request is remove non-original rear deck, remove fallen brick wall. And Maggie, I'll read you the summary of facts.
Yes.
The summary of facts is presented on the application. A, rear deck was added in the late 1900s. See Exhibit Number 1.
Yeah,
1990.
1990.
1990? What did I say?
1900.
1980s.
Oh, I'm
90s.
sorry. 1990s, sorry. Reading is fundamental, sorry.
Late 1900s.
B, it is in poor condition and does not meet code. See examples 2, 3, and 4. C, request request is to remove deck and brick from collapsed wall on property. See exhibit number 5. And D, plans for landscaping, new deck, and outdoor kitchen area will be presented in the future.
Is that correct?
Yes.
After I got the year right, huh?
We haven't had a meeting for a while, guys.
And let me just, basically what I'm wanting to do is get rid of the old 80s additions, start with a clean canvas, and then build on like a master plan for everything that I want to do to the property. I will be putting a deck back, but most likely smaller, quainter, maybe even metal, iron, something more in the spirit of the house itself. The residence has been let go for a long, long time. We purchased it last year, and basically the first weekend we moved in, it was raining on the inside. So we're trying to save it.
Yes, thank you.
And the brick foundation structure, I believe it was from the 80s. Somebody was going to do something there, and then it just never happened. And so the wall is just, it was poorly constructed anyway. And then the recent ice and winds, it fell down during the storm.
Do I have a motion?
I move that proposed work at 36 Eureka Street is compatible with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for the rehabilitation of historic buildings, as well as Eureka Springs Historic District Guidelines number 11 decks, and move that the level 2 work to remove non-original deck and fallen brick wall be approved according to agreed-upon summary of facts as presented.
Second.
Steve Holyfield made the motion. Greg Moon seconded. Any questions?
I need to ask a question. Maybe Glenna will know off the top of her head, but does demo of a deck, is that similar to demo of a structure that it requires a certificate from that it's
Building inspector?
not structurally sound? I mean, it sounds like it's in awfully bad shape. There's no question.
We've been treating decks and porches as level 2s for new ones, so I thought it would be appropriate to treat the demolition of it as a level 2 as well.
We don't need a demolition certificate from Bobby or anybody like that.
No.
do we?
Not for the level 2s.
Okay.
And for this, I know this is in behind the house, so even driving by, you couldn't see this anyway. It's, I don't know if it's 4 years or 5 years, the last I was on that deck. And let me tell you, I told everybody, do not walk across it. I did a plug-in here, you would have fallen through. It's horrible, guys. And this other part, it was crumbling 5 years. I think this year will be 5 years since I've been in that home.
We painted the deck last year just to
See if you could salvage it.
make it hold on this long.
So it's anything that they can do to save this house, we're indebted to you to even
Thank
to
you.
do anything. We're just glad it's not crumbling. I'm so thankful. Any other comments? All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Craig.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Hmm. 91 South Main Street. Hi, Brett.
Hello,
State your
Good
name
evening.
and your address, please.
my name is Britt Evans, and the proposed work is going to be at 91 South Main Street,
And your home address?
18 Eureka Street.
Applicant's the same. The construction date for this property is 1960. It is not contributing. They're asking to add a commercial fence. And Maggie, I'll read you the summary of facts.
The summary of facts as presented on the application: A, fence is located across patio dining area on the south side of the property between hedge and patio. See photos number 1 and 2. B, higher fence is needed to help mute noise from traffic and neighbors. C, fence will have custom iron 4-channel black vertical posts with horizontal 1x6 pine boards with half-inch spacing. And D, the fence will run 20 feet and be 6 feet tall.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, in your packets, guys, you didn't get this because we didn't realize it was on the back. I'm going to pass this around, and it might help explain any more if you have any questions on that, too. On the back of the, because you got this side, it's this side here that you guys didn't get to see. Okay, do I have a motion?
I move the proposed work at 91 South Main is compatible with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation of historic buildings, as well as Eureka Springs Historic District Guidelines Number 15 fences, and move that the Level 2 work to add commercial fence be approved according to the summary of facts as presented.
Second.
Steve Holyfield made the motion, Greg Moon seconded. Any questions, comments?
I have a couple of concerns. The first is that the guidelines say that the designs must be a maximum of 42 inches tall in front. That's a must and not a should. This is another place where we have that if it's a privacy fence, it says it should be in the back, and it should be at least 2/3 of the way back from the front of the structure. And again, 2/3 from there to where, I don't know, but this is across the front of the property. So to me, it's like, I'm seeing that this is across the front, and therefore it must be a maximum 42 inches. And I'm sympathetic to the goal of mitigating traffic noise, but I know just enough about acoustics to be dangerous, and this would not really accomplish much in the way of acoustic mitigation because...
That's a presumption that that's our number one concern, and it is not.
Okay.
Highway noise. We bought the property knowing that highway noise was going to be something that we were dealing with.
Okay, so
What
that's
we are
not...
trying to protect ourselves from and our investment are things that were outside of our abilities and are kind of taking over our area in a very intrusive way. And our guests, we are seeing a decline in our business, and we are needing to do something to protect our investment.
So wait, so what is causing your business to decline? The noise?
Noise and lights. There's light and noise pollution that we cannot seem to make any changes with.
Well, that sounds like a different problem.
I don't think it, excuse me, I don't think a pine fence will mitigate the noise at all. I think you'd be
It will,
better
the
off
light
doing, I mean, my own opinion.
Well, this is well-known acoustics that, first of all, what's going to mitigate the sound is mass and solidity.
Yeah.
So think of this as like you're trying to keep water out. The gaps themselves are going to let most of the sound all the way through. You probably wouldn't even be able to notice much of a difference. The value that you would achieve is by mitigating the lights. But even that, with the gaps, is going to make for glare because you're going to have these shards of light coming through. But to me, those questions, as important as I believe that they are questions about the noise ordinance and its enforcement and light intrusion ordinances, if there are any, and their enforcement. There are a lot of cities putting in a lot of effort in order to address light pollution, and that there are all kinds of ordinances about lights must not extend beyond the property boundary. The sources must not be visible from other nearby properties. There are ordinances about what can point up and what not because of nighttime light pollution. So to me, your concerns are those questions. But what I read here is as a question about design principles, that I see what it says to me, and I see what it says must be done.
How tall will the fence be total?
6 feet.
6 feet. 72 inches.
Pardon?
72 inches, then 72 inches.
Yes. And the actual spacing in between, that might go down to where they touch. It's going to be designed in such a way that the planking can come out at any time. It is also going to, we need to visually, for our guests, get them something that is part of our branding that we started 5 years ago, and it's just...
And I'm very sympathetic to all of
Sure.
those goals. I just don't see it as being in line with what this says that we have to do. That's my main point. I would love for you to be able to achieve the goals that you're describing. I don't think that this allows that in that. I don't think that this allows that kind of an approach to a solution.
Britt, I think it's a very handsome design for a commercial property. And you do have some shrubs around there too, right?
Yes, the
Which is
shrubs and the
very
existing
sound
fence, it's all
absorbing.
staying. Nothing is going to be extracted and this, they will continue to grow up the front of it.
I think
They're-
it's very
As you can see now, that's 36, 40 inches tall as it is now. Fence is behind it on the property side.
Any other before we vote? All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
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 So we have 4 yeses, 2 noes. Motion passes 4-2.
Sets a precedent for walling in downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Administrative approvals. Well, let me go back up to consent agenda. We have none. Administrative approvals by City Preservation Officer. These will all be level 1s. 46 Spring, new sign, wood. 28 Spring, move sign from 1B Center, McNeam. 137 Spring, patio, Staten. 55 North Main, new sign, Claiborne. 124 East Van Buren, replace sign faces, cross. 183 West Van Buren, repaint, same color, Knapp. 139 Mill Hollow, repair siding, retaining wall, foundation, trim, windows, add French drain, Irwin. Commissioner business. Approval of minutes for November 18th, 2020.
I move that we approve the minutes for the November 18th, 2020 meeting.
Second?
Steve Holyfield made the motion. Greg Moon seconded. Did everybody read those minutes that came out in the packet?
It's been a while.
I think Tommy can't vote on this, so the rest of everybody was at that meeting, correct?
I think so.
Okay, all in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Election of 2021 officers. Want to start at the top and go down? Or
I nominate
go-
Dee Bright as chair.
Second.
I nominate Steve Holyfield.
You've done a third of the year already.
Yeah, there you go. Second.
Yeah, an easy year, right? I don't know.
You can do it another year, right?
Yeah, I can. You guys have to vote. You take over. I'm not going to vote.
All in favor of Dee Bright being chair for one more year, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Okay, Vice Chair. Can I nominate you?
Steve
Steve
Holyfield.
Holyfield.
Thank you.
Marty?
Randy Maddox.
Okay.
Do you
Are you
accept?
ready for this,
Let's do it.
yeah, Randy? Or, well, he just got
Sure.
a new bed and breakfast, so I didn't know whether you
Yeah.
were ready for this.
Well, you know, I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed with things going right now, but as long as you're here, and
She'll be here.
No, I
That's
want
fine.
Steve.
I'm just on
We'll
call.
help you. We'll help you.
Because if I'm gone, you have to take over.
You wanna do this?
I only had to do it one
I'm just
time,
going to be
right, sir?
fair. I don't care who.
Either way is fine. I appreciate Marty's nomination. I'm happy to serve or happy not to if,
I mean, we get, you and Tommy have both of them, but
There's not a real fight for it here.
which one of you two want the chair or vice chair?
You want to do it?
I'll go.
Do it,
Yeah,
Randy.
let Randy.
Do Randy? Okay. All in favor of Randy being vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll help you.
That passes.
I was chair for a couple of years.
And then we need secretary.
Somebody else can have it for a while.
Somebody else can-
I say Maggie.
I say somebody else can have it for a while.
She doesn't want to do it again. She's had it 2 years. Right?
Ever since I got on the commission. Tommy needs a new job.
How about Steve Holyfield?
Yes, I mean, I understand, Tommy.
My handwriting is horrible.
Let's do Steve Holyfield.
Yes,
How about Greg Moon?
No. Steve Holyfield.
Okay, I'll do it.
I say Steve.
Yeah, that way you still have to sit next to me, Steve.
Can't get away from you.
All in favor of Steve being secretary?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we have treasurer, which doesn't do a lot.
Who's treasurer now? Who's treasurer now?
Marty, I believe, right?
Well, no, I mean officially, but I did absolutely nothing, so I don't see the point.
And you did a great job.
So I think we should just continue it with you being treasurer. You did such a
No,
good
I
job.
think that the concept of it is moot.
Well, we have to have it, so you
Why?
might still be it. I don't argue it. Let's just do it. Let's just follow the rules. Let's just do
Oh,
it.
yeah, right.
You know,
No, I don't want it because I did nothing.
Maggie, you
I
want to,
had no
Maggie, you want to be
authority.
treasurer?
I had no signatures, I had
Tommy?
absolutely
Yeah,
nothing.
absolutely.
So the whole thing.
I nominate Greg Moon as treasurer.
no, I don't want any positions.
Why?
Because,
You
gotta
don't
take
have to
turns.
do anything.
not this round, maybe next round.
I nominate Maggie.
Maggie's going to be Maggie.
I don't even know what it does.
Nothing.
Well, then I
If
don't
we
have-
need a check
I might- I
Did
might
you hear
call-
Mario here?
If
Nothing.
we need a check signed, which this year isn't, unless we have awards, that's the only time, and with COVID and all, we're probably
mean-
not having,
That's fine, I can do that.
Glenna signed, we need 2 signatures. Glenna signs, and then we need one other
No,
person to sign.
They didn't even go to the bank to ask me to be a signatory.
Okay, well, let's
So all in favor of Maggie, say yes.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
You ran a great campaign, Maggie.
Yeah. Apparently no.
Discussion of guidelines, workshop topics, dates, and consultants.
Okay.
We just need a date? We need a date then?
In the This round of certified local government grants, I did put in for a consultant. This was at Catherine Barrier's suggestion from Little Rock, and I believe that will be funded. So we will hire, if you all want to, someone who's done a bunch of guidelines for other communities to come and help us reformulate ours. And we'll have some community meetings, and it'll give us
Credibility?
and an outsider's input. But I think that this commission should continue to maybe have some workshops because we keep coming across topics in our guidelines. It's been a while. I think we can go ahead and get started without the consultant and maybe have that person come in the fall when people are a little more comfortable with meeting in a workshop setting. But if you want, go ahead and start, get the groundwork laid. Our guidelines, some of the ones are a little more extensive and a little more illustrated than ours. You can go on to the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's website, and they do have other towns' guidelines. Plus, you can just Google it, for some communities that you think are similar to ours. But I think we will have a consultant to help, and that person will put the final package together for us too.
And
That's a
by
good-
our grant money, that way we don't have to take it out of our little bit of funding. So that would be great with the funding coming.
When do you
from
think that
Little
would
Rock.
happen?
Excuse me?
When do you think that might happen? We'd have that person.
I've had the preliminary approval for the grant, but I haven't actually gotten the grant agreement. The money for this round of grants, the CLG grants overlap, should be available April or May, so we can start talking to the consultant. And the grant will run through September 2022, so we have a good chunk of time there.
So we should go ahead and meet and do our thing and then do that later, you think?
If you want to. I mean, that's up to you all.
Like one of the questions Randy had this evening, that's something that we could talk at a workshop. And we had some other things last year that we wanted to talk at workshops.
I think an hour before our next meeting, and would that be okay, Glenna?
Yeah.
We just meet here an hour before next meeting, just do it before the meeting starts?
And that's a workshop, so that won't need to be televised. It will need to be audio recorded.
Is that okay with everybody?
So you want to make a motion that we,
I move that we meet our next meeting time, which is April 7th.
7th, I think.
April 7th at 5 o'clock here, and we'll have an hour discussion of guidelines, and then we can at least get started on it
Okay.
for an hour
That'll be a workshop.
workshop.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Steve Holyfield made the motion, and Greg Moon seconded to have a workshop April 7th at 5 p.m., an hour before our normal meeting.
Can we send you just our suggestions for?
Why don't you do that, and I'll put together some of my notes, and I'll send those out ahead of time. So get them to me a few days before the meeting, and I'll compile those, and everybody can be thinking about what we think might need to be changed or where we've run into problems.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried 6-0. Next meeting will be April 7th, 2021. Level 3 applications are due Wednesday, March 25th. Level 2 applications due Wednesday, April 1st. Commissioner comments? Marty?
No.
Greg?
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Steve?
I'd like to welcome Tommy to the commission, and good to see everybody. Hope everybody's being safe.
Randy?
I attended part of the virtual workshop a few weeks ago. I could only do the first couple of sessions, and I didn't have the chance to go back even to watch any of the others. I didn't know if anybody had any reactions to that, or if there was anything that jumped out in any of the attendances, or if we were going ever to raise that as a discussion. I'm sure we don't want to get into that now, but I just wondered if anybody else had a reaction.
Nothing jumped out at me. I didn't see it that day. I went back and watched it all.
All I saw was pretty cursory introductory stuff, but interesting, and if there was something that I should jump toward in the later parts.
Yeah, they did finally post the link to the recorded sessions today. So,
it was only today that
in
they-
your email,
Okay.
it should be, you only got that if you signed up. So I know you signed up, and Tommy did, and Dee, and I. So, and I also have, for the new commissioners, if I didn't give you, there's a little flash drive that has a lot of basic camp-type information. Did I give you that, Randy? I know I gave it to Tommy.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I'll pull one out for
Okay.
you.
Do you think, Glenna, I know the answer to this, but do you think we might have an actual meeting by fall?
I would think maybe fall. I don't think you'll have anything in the summer.
Because that would be great for, you
Yeah.
got to go to one, right, Randy? No?
No.
So none. It would be great if you two could, you and Tommy could go to an actual group, like with Little Rock, the whole group.
Right.
Yeah, they're very good.
I'm definitely open to that.
Yeah, it's,
Plus, they're fun.
I mean, I spend so much of my time in Teams meetings and WebExes that another one doesn't excite me that much, but I did at least get to start the sessions on.
Yeah. Well, it is up now, so you can watch watch an hour at a time or so if you want.
Until I fall
haven't
asleep.
watched any of it, so.
Yeah.
can everybody have that even if they didn't sign up?
She said not to forward it if people hadn't signed up, but I don't know how they'd know.
Okay.
Since registration was free, I don't
Yeah.
know. Seems kind of silly.
I think we could share it with you guys, I would think. I don't know. We'll double check on that. Tommy, any comments?
No, I'm just glad to be here.
We're glad you're here. Maggie?
Welcome, Tommy, and I'm glad everyone's safe and sound.
Yes.
Good to see faces again.
It's wonderful, and happy St. Patrick's Day, and I don't have any announcements, because we don't have any cocktails for cause, we don't have, but maybe coming, we did have a big Main Street workshop today. It was all virtual with a consultant, and for 4 hours. A lot of good things if we can just get open and all planned for the year, so it'll be great for all of us. Adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Randy made the motion. Randy Maddox, Greg
Simultaneous
Moon
second.
seconded.
I missed a second.
I'll let
There was
Greg-
tied for
I'll let
second.
Greg have it.
All in
You can have
favor?
it.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed 6-0.